evening and welcome to another edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves on location today in Lexington, Kentucky, just outside the training complex for Kentucky football. In Maryland, John Webster, my longtime friend, esteemed colleague and sports expert, lover of all things Notre Dame and New England Patriots. John, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great, Gary, man. Thanks a lot. And don't forget, lover of the Orioles as well, too. Don't forget that.
That's right. That's right. Are they still in the pennant race for a wild card?
They're there, but losing last night 11-0 to the Detroit Tigers really doesn't help anything.
Ooh.
Did I say Detroit Tigers? Yeah, I did say Detroit Tigers.
At 8, man, sometimes it happens when the low of the low rise to the top.
Woo. Hey, but Gary, we'd be remiss, man, if we didn't say hey to our sidekick, our director, our main man, John Pitt. How you doing, John?
Doing good. What's going on, guys?
Oh,
we
got
John,
a whole lot going on.
Let me be the first to say to you, John, before we get too far into it, happy Cowboy Day, my friend.
What is Cowboy Day? What is that?
They won.
The season's still over, though, so you don't have to say
that. John, they're only 1-1, man. It's too soon to toss in the towel.
Tell me why. Explain yourself.
It's a 17-game season, man. You still got 15 games left, and anything could happen. I mean, any other team, teams can have injuries just like the Cowboys. Plus, you will get Dak Prescott back at some point before the middle of October.
And plus, the win they got on Sunday against Cincinnati, that was a win nobody expected them to get. So basically, you just got a game that you didn't expect to have. And the quarterback, what's his name? Cooper Rush?
Cooper Rush.
That he gets enough, that's a good one to have. And now he has 2 or 3 more weeks. They get the Giants next week in the Meadowlands. So we'll see what happens then. But, just bringing that up, Gary, that's a smooth transition for us into what we need to talk about today, the NFL.
Yeah, well, some things were not surprising, at least to me and maybe to you, that Washington fell back to earth. I guess you could say they fell back with a thud up in Detroit, falling down 22-0 and losing, 36-27. And nobody is happy in DC, even with that comeback, just because of falling in a hole like that at Detroit. Say whatever you want about the Lions and make all those jokes, but 22-0, you don't do that to any team, but especially the Lions. Am I right?
Well, it was a tale of two halves. The first half, they had absolutely nothing going offensively. And then the second half, they found their groove and they started scoring. But they had dug too big of a hole for themselves, Gary, to get out of. There is some concern, I must say. That's a defense that's given up already this season. 7 yards a carry in 2 games. They're giving up 7 yards. That's way, way too much. That means the safeties are making the tackles. That's way too many yards to be given up, man.
Yeah. I wonder, well, I'm going to say it. I wonder if they've kind of given up on Jack Del Rio. I mean, first of all, you've got 2 defense-minded coaches and Rivera and Del Rio. I mean, you figured that there'd be a toughness there. Now, again, I didn't see the game, but if social media is any indication that defense just doesn't seem to know what it's doing. And 2 years ago, we thought that was going to be the savior for this team, until they figured out their offense and their quarterback situation. Of all things, Carson Wentz seems to have provided some stability there. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things, but it's that defense.
They, I don't want to say, they have some challenges.
That's being kind.
They're giving up too many yards per carry. They're giving up too many big plays. There was one play where the running back Swift caught a flare out, fell on the ground, got back up, ran
Oh
to the other
yeah.
side of the field and scored. Um, I don't want to sit and put everything on Del Rio, but I will say from things that I read and what I hear on the radio, there is some concern with him there. There is some dissension with him there. I think they're going to have to work better together if this is going to be a successful season. But that defense is going to need some help, man. They're going to need some help, and they got to find a way to turn it around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, moving on to maybe some brighter teams in the NFC East. Philadelphia looked impressive last night. Jalen Hurts really. I'm kind of surprised by how. I'm not surprised that he played well, but last night kind of reminded me of what he was at Alabama. You know, just the promise that people thought for him in the NFL. I mean, he looked like an NFL quarterback last night.
Played really well. He has some amazing weapons. You got Devontae Smith, you got AJ Brown. I forget the running back's name, and then you got a good tight end. They're really a good cohesive team. They're coming in town next week to play the Commanders. Who knows what'll happen? That could be a game where maybe the Commanders get it turned around. But if you just look at it on paper, Philadelphia is the better team.
Yeah, well, I don't even know if we need to look at it on paper. I mean, you saw the Commanders in Detroit and the struggles there. Yeah, they got it together in the second half, but you can't afford to do that against a team like Philly, which, as you said, has those weapons. Pretty much came out and has played really the way that everybody thought they would play. In that division. I still think it's theirs. Now I'd say it's theirs to lose, just given, just the state of the Cowboys and injuries. But I mean, last night, again, you can say whatever about the Vikings too, but Jalen Hurts was just impressive last night. I mean, that was, it seemed like that was the first game where not only did he have command, or not only did he execute, he had command of that team. And I never felt like he's had command of that team. It always seemed like he was maybe one or two plays from being pulled. And when I say that, it's not him, committing a mistake or something, but him being pulled because maybe he wasn't as effective enough. And I mean, last night, I think, should answer that question. Let the guy play, let him sort it out. His decision-making was good. His execution was good. He did everything he had to do. So, if the fans in Philly are expecting, 30-point games or something like that, yeah, that's possible. But let him develop the way that he's supposed to.
Well, I'm happy for him. He's always been a good
too.
guy and worked his butt off to be the best quarterback he can be. Take all the way back to Alabama, then you look at him at Oklahoma. He's done everything people have asked him. He's a class act.
Yeah.
And he's doing really well at Philadelphia. And like you said, Philadelphia has a really good team, Gary, a really good team. One of our previous guests, Jesse Clay, has to be really, really enthusiastic and happy right now that Philadelphia is sitting on top of the East at 2-0. Long way to go. Way to go. But right now they're 2-0.
Yeah. Hey, shifting around a little bit, let's go to the NFC West and talk about the San Francisco 49ers, where Jimmy Garoppolo is the starter after an unfortunate injury to Trey Lance. It wasn't that long ago, John, that I think we were speculating on where Jimmy Garoppolo should go, whether he would be traded somewhere. Of course, that contract of his made it quite problematic for anybody trying to pick him up. But I think our consensus, when all was said and done, was that his best situation was probably sticking around there as insurance. Nobody thought that it would happen 2 games in, but it demonstrates kind of the wisdom of keeping an experienced guy there for just such an emergency as what happened on Sunday. Would you agree?
San Francisco has the best backup quarterback in football. I mean, who else can go to the bench and come up with a Garoppolo to be your backup to go in as a starter? It's unfortunate what happened to Trey Lance. In my opinion, this is going to really hurt him for a couple of years because this was going to be his year to get a hold of the offense. The saying in the NFL is with the quarterback, you make your biggest jump between year one and year two. He really didn't have much of a year one being in this position, so he's going to have to start all over again whenever he gets the chance. Here's the question. Garoppolo played. They beat Seattle, was it 27-7? I mean, it's not like Garoppolo did a great, he didn't come in and throw 5 touchdowns and throw 300 yards, but it's just his command of the offense, his leadership of the team. What do you do, Gary, when they get to the playoffs, if they get to the playoffs and they win a playoff game? I got one better for you. What do you do if they get back to the Super Bowl?
I mean, you know, what's that saying? You ride the horse as long as it can go. Now, everything you said, I find interesting, John, because I hearken back to maybe last fall when you were not a Garoppolo fan, when you just said you flat out don't trust him. Mm-hmm. And you know, that mistrust was earned. It was justified. You just never knew what you're going to get out of him. I don't think he's changed that much as a quarterback, but I think at this point, he basically has saved your season just by being there. He's that warm body that they needed, that they probably didn't think that they would need. He's been a good backup quarterback in terms of providing guidance and support for Lance. And now it's his show.
It's his show, and it's just different. I mean, I realize
maybe he's matured from it. I mean, that's the way that you have to look at it.
He's always going to be Jimmy G. He's not going to be Johnny Unitas. He's not going to be Joe Montana. He's not going to be Tom Brady. But you look at the first game when they played the Bears. Granted, that game was played in a torrential rainpour, which I really enjoyed because they're playing outdoors on grass, but that's another story for another show. But anyway, Lance still did not look comfortable. He still was not, he's still young, Gary. He's still learning.
And that's the upside. That's the upside.
Yeah, and
you're right. This is the year that you're supposed to take that leap. And granted, it was only a game and a half in, and now he's hurt. That sets him back. Maybe you can use this time to really observe how Jimmy G is doing it, win or lose. And the main thing is first, just get healthy and get your mechanics back, and then resume where you were supposed to be, where you left off and everything before the injury, essentially from the Chicago game.
And Garoppolo is going to continue to move them forward. He's not going to do anything sensational, but what he is going to do, Gary, he's going to make sure that boat is steady. And the guys on that team absolutely, positively love him and will do whatever they can to win a game. And he is who needs to be in that position right now is Garoppolo. So we'll see what happens.
In retrospect, I thought about this Sunday night that with him, I kind of wonder whether they should have started him from the beginning. Because again, he does have command. He's experienced. And I still believe, John, you don't necessarily need to be a Tom Brady or a Josh Allen. You don't have to be a superstar. Just manage the game. That's the whole thing. I think that was why I used to like Ryan Fitzpatrick so much with all of his different journeys, that, he was a guy that was a journeyman, and he did just enough to manage the game. I'm trying to think of who else was a good game manager who had a star year. Joe Flacco. I thought was just a good game manager. Had the standout year. They won the Super Bowl, and guess what? He's still playing. He's still on an NFL roster. So again, it's like just know what you're doing out there, and you can stay employed.
Yeah, I mean, Flacco got it done. They beat Cleveland on Sunday. You're right. He's not Josh Allen. Garoppolo is not, Josh Allen. Garoppolo's not Josh Allen. But
Man,
Garoppolo is
nobody is Josh Allen right now.
no, but he does steady the boat.
Whew.
He does make sure that they do everything they need to do. And in San Francisco's mind, they can never say it publicly. Right now, he's probably the best chance they have at going back as far as they can go. He's probably the best chance they got.
Yeah.
And now you mentioned that guy. You mentioned that guy in Buffalo. What's his name? Josh Allen?
Yeah. There are no words right now to describe how good that guy is, how good Buffalo is. My only worry about Buffalo right now is they might be playing too good too soon. And if I know that sounds strange after 2 games, but that game went from something like maybe 10-7, 14-7, and just got out of hand quickly. And it
ended up being, was it 41-7?
Yeah, 41-7. And
have they punted yet this year?
What's that?
Have they punted yet this year?
I don't think so. I think that was the question. I don't think they've punted this year. Loneliest guy in the NFL is their punter right now. But hey, he'll also be the rested guy if eventually they have to kick it away. But I don't want to jump the gun too much and say Buffalo is the odds-on favorite. I know Vegas likes them. A lot of people like them, and I think that's justified. The thing that I like working in their favor right now is their defense. Von Miller went there to really help get them over the hump. I mean, he might be old, I guess, in some people's minds, but he still has that ability to really lift up guys around him, and also still play at a high level. I think his absence. The Rams are feeling his absence right now. I think the Rams will be okay. They'll sort things out. But his presence, I really do think, or his absence rather, is affecting them, and his presence in Buffalo is helping them.
Gary, I've said this to you before, and I'll say it to you again.
Here we go.
To be the champion, you have to beat the champion. So until Buffalo beats Kansas City, I'm still looking at Patrick Mahomes. Until they beat them, not in the regular season game, beat them in the playoffs. Beat them when it really matters.
Yeah. John, I couldn't agree more. With Mahomes, I'm not convinced right now with Kansas City. They're going to be good enough, but I'm not sure if they can't get out of their own way sometimes. That was my concern with them last year. And
I think the only thing, it's still early. One of the things that trips them up is San Diego. And that's what should have tripped them up last Thursday night.
Yeah.
But I still say
what tripped up San Diego? What was the biggest thing that you think tripped up San Diego?
On the game last week?
Mm-hmm.
The coach didn't see the kid that was tired.
That and they got cute. And I always say, if there's such a thing as the football gods, I always say, in situations where you just need to punch it in there, smash mouth, and you decide to get cute and try to throw the ball, what always happens, it turns into an interception or you blow the game.
Well, this is the same.
The Bears did it Sunday with Justin Fields on lining up in a shotgun on 4th and short. I just don't understand. Why do you even have a running back if you're not going to use him in a short yardage situation like that? That's why. Or if you're a big enough, good enough quarterback, just run a sneak. I mean, Russell Wilson still runs sneaks, but he didn't in that Super Bowl against Denver.
New England.
New England. I'm sorry.
The Super Bowl champion, New England Patriots.
Yeah, the last one, I think. Well, next to last one, but yeah, I mean, it's like, stop being cute. This is a power game. yeah, you can finesse all you want, but if you got less than 2 yards, at the goal line, just punch it in. Stop with all of this cute stuff because again, when the way that they cheat guys up, it's never it rarely goes well, especially if you're trying to pass across the middle.
Well, keep in mind this guy that's the coach of the Chargers,
In the slot,
Staley.
I'm saying in the slot. Yeah.
He's the same guy who cost him a playoff last year against the Raiders because he wanted to go for it on fourth down over and over again. It's a new way these new guys come in to do it a little bit differently. But, speaking of differently though, Gary, how different did Miami look the other day against the Ravens? I mean, how different is that offense now with Tyreek Hill?
Oh, they're scary. That's the only word I can really think of. And again, it makes you wonder about the wisdom with Kansas City, just letting him go. There's a whole lot of criticism I have on Baltimore's defense about that, especially to let that happen in the fourth quarter of a game that you were in control. I mean, for 3 quarters, John, I saw the tweets. I almost texted you that Lamar was playing for that contract in that game, and he was making a good case to get whatever. And for the most part, he made his case to get paid. 35 points should win you any football game in the NFL. But that defense, they just went to sleep. They just flat.
It's not a Ravens defense. And
No,
the thing I don't like, they come to New England this week, and I don't want to play a mad Ravens team. It's bad enough playing them as it is. To play them when they're mad is even worse. So we'll see how it works out in New England this week.
But hey, your team got a win out of Mac Jones, so you should be happy with that. That should be encouraging. I know you're not encouraged, but
that was an unexpected win. Did not see that one coming. I would gladly take it. And I'd like them to steal another one this week, their home opener against the Ravens. Nothing would make me happier, but we'll see. That's a tall order to get, man. Tall order.
Yeah.
Hey, but one team we haven't talked about. They're undefeated. The G-Men.
The New York
Giants.
Yep.
The New York Giants. 2-0. And have the Cowboys coming to the Meadowlands on Monday night. Wow.
I never thought I would say this about a division rival, but I like that because, well, I mean, I guess if I had to root for a division, I would probably root for the NFC East against anybody, just because, that's what we're familiar with. That's the division that we figure that we measure, well, I say we, Washington followers, or any other team in that division, they measure themselves against who you see most often. And yeah, it's encouraging to see them off to a good start, because I would have thought they would be 0-2 at this point, because again, you just did not know what they had, whether Saquon Barkley was going to be any good, whether he was even going to be available. And hey, you're getting something out of the Giants, and 2-0 is nothing to sneeze at.
And guess who else is happy today? Eli White. Thoroughly happy.
Oh yeah.
Thoroughly happy.
Yeah. Yeah, he should be. I mean, a win is a win, John. That's
2-0 right now, and nobody expecting to be a 2-0. You can't beat it. You can't beat it.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's a long season. I really want to see where how the dust settles after they've had a chance to play a few more division games, and not just the G-Man. I'm just talking about some of these teams that are off to 2-0 starts. Tampa Bay might be probably, I'm going to say probably the pluckiest 2-0 team. Not lucky, but plucky, because that game, that was the game that I saw Sunday, here in Louisville, against against New Orleans Saints, and that was it was just kind of it was an impressive win in terms of how they went about it against the Saints, because the Saints had not only had Brady's number, I mean, in a sense, they almost had Tampa Bay's number, and you just don't go into New Orleans and beat them like that. But yeah, they just stuck with it. Oh, of course, they did the smart thing by confusing Jameis Winston, which isn't hard to do. But
Gary, that's not nice. Gary, that's not nice. That's
But-
not nice. That's not
okay.
nice.
Well, I mean, it's
That's
like
not nice.
that, John. It is what it is. And I like Jameis Winston. I hope he succeeds, but he still can't read defenses. I mean, how is it you commit 3 turnovers and something like 4 or 5 plays? I mean, that's what turned the game around. I think what was it, two interceptions, and they turned them into points. And that's and basically that. Look, I think one of those passes I think was like off a guy's hands or something. Okay, fine, but again, he is still struggling to read coverages, and that's what's going to hurt him. He's going to throw a lot of touchdowns, but he's going to throw just as many interceptions. His numbers in Tampa Bay don't lie, and I think the career numbers in general, but the numbers in New Orleans don't lie either. That he'll get you the touchdowns, but he's also going to give as much as he gives you.
I think another interesting number that we'll see this week. Brady, the first 2 weeks, has been a pedestrian quarterback.
Yeah,
he hasn't really, done a lot. I think you'll get a more of an indication this week when they play Green Bay, where he is. I don't want to jinx him, but I will say this. Remember, age can creep up on you at any time.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to jinx this guy. He is one of the greatest.
Yeah.
Absolutely one of the greatest. But like anything else in life, old man time is undefeated. Undefeated.
Yep. I wonder if he just, I know he came back because he didn't like how last season ended, but
it's still too early to get into it. Let's wait and see what happens when he plays Green Bay this week. Let's wait and see what happens. That's going to be interesting. Buffalo at Minnesota Buffalo at Miami is going to be very interesting.
Oh, that's the game of the week to me.
Yeah.
Speaking of Miami, I am impressed with Tua. I think we saw how good he can be. I mean, again, he's got good receivers, so that definitely helps. But his decision making, his accuracy, I mean, just and basically his composure. Now, of course, the Ravens didn't really throw up a whole lot of resistance against him. I think he had time to throw a lot of times, and those receivers got open. I mean, I think there was one sequence where he had at least 3 seconds to find a receiver and found one guy down the middle. And I thought, that's when I said the Ravens defense was breaking down. I mean, it was either they were too tired or they were miscommunicating. I mean, they had too many coverage busts, and I don't know what that's about. Of course, if Wink Martindale was still there, who knows? But, maybe that's why the Giants, he's with the Giants, right? So maybe that's why they're 2-0.
Well, it'll be interesting. I tell you what, let's do this real quick before we get out of here.
Okay.
We're going to do some picking real quick.
Okay.
Washington, Philadelphia. Who you got?
Philly.
Philly as well. Pitt, who do you have? We'll come back to them.
Okay.
Dallas and the Giants. Who you got?
Dallas.
I got the Giants. Pitt, are you there? Are you there yet, Pitt?
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, I said Dallas and the Giants. Who do you have?
Giants.
You got the Giants. Then I'd say I got the Giants as well, too.
Yep, I took Dallas. John, probably the game of the weekend that we just talked about, since we're talking about predictions. Yeah, Buffalo and Miami. That one. I don't. There might not be enough numbers on the scoreboard to contain that. It's definitely going to be one loading up the stat sheet. Who you got?
I'm going with Buffalo.
Agreed.
Pitt, who are you going with?
Buffalo.
All right, there's a consensus there.
Okay, Green Bay, Tampa Bay.
Oh boy, let's see. That's a tough one.
Tampa. That's easy.
Yeah, I got to put my loyalty aside. I'm going to say Tampa.
I'm going to go out in left field, and I'm going to say Green Bay. So let's make this sure we got it right, guys. I have Green Bay, I have Buffalo, I have Philadelphia, and I have the Giants.
That sounds good.
And Gary, you have Philadelphia, Dallas, Tampa Bay,
Bill.
and Miami.
Yeah, I took the Bills over Miami.
Okay, Pitt, who you got? What are your four?
Buffalo, the Giants, Tampa Bay, and who's the other game?
Buffalo, Giants, Philadelphia, Washington.
And Philadelphia.
All right, let's keep this in mind, Pitt. Let's keep it in mind for next week, guys.
All right. Well, hey, we've got it on tape, so yeah, none of us can lie.